All right, welcome back to another edition of Horseman Pro Football Talk podcast. I am Brad.
And I'm Hefe.
So I want to explain to everybody that when we go through these, that we have notes, we kind of jot things down, right? The next game up is the Raiders and Seahawks, and you have conveniently reminded me with your note here that both these teams have proved us wrong. And the first thing I want to say is fuck you. Fuck you, Pete Carroll, the Seattle Seahawks. I say that jokingly, of course, except for the Pete Carroll part. It's funny because you're spot on. I mean, we both thought the Raiders would be in contention in the AFC. Everybody did. And we thought the Seahawks were going to be bottom dwellers. Their division has crumbled, and somehow they're on the winning side of things. I don't even know. I haven't watched enough of their games even. It's one of those that I looked at the standings the other like 2 weeks ago, and it hit. I was like, what the? I've been paying attention, but I hadn't really been paying attention, and was like, oh my God, the Seahawks are leading the division, and I don't even know how that's happened. But you're right. So there, you feel better now. You're right.
Yeah, feels good. You know what I mean? I was with everybody else. I thought the Raiders would be good, Seahawks would be bad. I actually had the Seahawks not winning a single game this year, literally going 0-17. And what they've done. I mean, first of all, Russell Wilson, everything that's come out since he left Seattle, like it seemed like they needed to lose Russell Wilson to be successful, which is crazy. And the way they play football, they come out and dominate the trenches. You got to give the GM, John Snyder, a lot of credit. What he did in this draft class, this is going to go down as long as these rookies, can stay healthy and stay on the field. This is going to go down as one of the best draft classes by any GM ever. The guys that he was able to bring in offensively, defensively, the offensive line, the secondary, the running back, Kenneth Walker III coming out of Michigan State is going to be one of the best running backs in the NFL for as long as he wants to play for the next 10 to 12 years. And the dudes that were drafted to the Seahawks this year came in, I think have already played more snaps for a rookie draft class than any other rookie draft class for a team ever. So, incredible job there. So, it's something, while all this has been going on, we didn't have Wi-Fi. So we haven't really been able to talk about the Seahawks while this is going down. So I wanted to make sure I give credit to what the Seahawks are doing, especially all the Seahawks rookie. They're doing an incredible job. As much as you would hate to hear this, Pete Carroll has done an incredible job with this team. Geno Smith being a guy that's been in the league for 10, 12 years, whatever it is, and hasn't been able to get his shot. But talking about the quarterbacks he sat behind, the Eli Mannings, the Phillip Rivers, he sat behind some great quarterbacks on his way to being the Seahawks quarterback, and has obviously picked some things up along the way and has played incredible for most of the games. They've lost a couple, and it's mostly been the games they lose. It's because Geno's turning the ball over. But for the most part, Geno has been very good this year. The offense has been efficient, which is obviously being led by Geno Smith and the young guy out of Michigan State. So, the Seahawks, you got to give them a lot of props, and the Raiders rightfully getting killed for how they're playing. They were able to pick up a game against the Broncos. The Broncos are a whole different thing. But the Raiders, another team that have been completely different than anything we thought they would be coming into the year. And it's hard not to blame that on Josh McDaniels.
Oh, without a doubt. Without a doubt. We talked about this. When your star quarterback breaks down and cries in a press conference, that shows you how high the expectations were, and you realize that the culture is broken. They don't believe. That's your quarterback is the leader. He's the last guy to give up on what's happening. And when he emotionally broke down like that, and when Carr broke down in a press conference, it tells you everything that you need to know about what's going on behind the scenes. McDaniels lost the locker room. They don't believe. It's over. And I wouldn't be surprised if he gets fired at the end of the year. I really wouldn't. If I was an owner, look, when you bring a coach in, you want to give a coach room to make changes and do some things. That's expected. Everybody gets it, right? McDaniels wasn't brought in to rebuild. He was brought in to take a playoff team to the next level. and he's taken them into descent. When you take that with his earlier stint with the Broncos and the shit he pulled in Indianapolis, if I was the owner, I'd fire his ass right now. But that's me.
From everything I've heard, they can't fire him right now because of all the legal stuff that Mark Davis is going through in different situations that the owner's going through. He's the only owner in the NFL that's not a billionaire. So from everything I've heard, they don't have enough cash on hand to fire McDaniels because he has guaranteed money. And you can't fire McDaniels and hire a new coach in his place. So they're talking about McDaniels staying. And what I saw on Twitter today was that what the situation might be to keep Devontae Adams around, Derek Carr and picks go to Green Bay for Aaron Rodgers.
Wow. That's a tough spot to be in when the problem is McDaniels. I don't see it any other way. So, and I'd like to say a couple of things. First of all, I was kidding about the Seattle Seahawks. I don't have a problem with the Seattle Seahawks. I've actually, at many times in my life, rooted for the Seahawks. I'm not a Pete Carroll fan. If you haven't watched any of our other stuff before, I don't like what the guy did in USC. I think he's cocky. And when he chews gum, I want to punch him in the face. And so I don't want any Seattle fans to take any of that personally. It has nothing to do with you. It's simply a Pete Carroll thing. So I'm excited. Other than the Pete Carroll thing, I'm excited to be surprised by the Seahawks, and I'm happy for Geno Smith. Geno Smith has been the butt of so many jokes and the theme of so many memes, especially at the beginning of this season. People are like, imagine, this being your quarterback, and they're laughing at Seahawks fans buying a Geno Smith jersey. And they're really making magic out of what's happening. And I, as a football fan, I think that's exciting. So I want everybody to know that I wanted to be a comedian and I couldn't make it. That's why I'm doing this. So if the jokes weren't funny, you'll know why. But they were jokes anyway. Other than Pete Carroll, I can't stand Pete Carroll. But I think I made that point clear. Now, with that said, the Seahawks need to be careful because the 49ers are dangerous, and they get all their shit together. They're going to come running for the end of this. But in my opinion, with this week coming up with the state of these two teams and the directions they're headed, then the Seahawks are going to take one step closer to winning the NFC West. There's no way the Raiders go into Seattle and beat the Seahawks this weekend.
That's how I feel. Like if you go back and watch what I said about the Titans-Bengals, like the same reason I think the Titans are going to beat the Bengals, the same reason I think the Seahawks are going to beat the Raiders. Just in the trenches, the Seahawks are going to be more physical, and the Raiders aren't going to be able to keep up. And the Raiders don't have enough talent on either side in the trenches, except for Max Crosby, who's putting his name into the hat for Defensive Player of the Year and the way that he's played. But it's just not enough. The Raiders don't have enough, and I think they're going to get outcoached, outplayed. I expect the Seahawks to dominate, not just win. I expect them to dominate the Raiders.
I think you're right.